I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
We're ready.
All right.
All right. We switched it up. We're on different sides now, but I'm still Chris.
I'm still Stephanie.
And
I think sometimes I sit on this side, though.
I think you do.
Yeah.
We should do one where you sit on my lap and then one where I sit on your lap. Watch for that one.
Okay.
But we're excited about this one and share some background. So I love working with spreadsheets. It's
how?
Yeah, it's a nice way of visualizing data. And I think for us, a lot of times it helps with conversation because we can both sit there and visually look at something and then Stephanie can say, yeah, but what you don't have is a column for my emotions and wipes the whole thing away.
And how it makes me feel.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's fair.
So Google, Excel, you guys work on that. But where it has been extremely helpful is as we've started to plan out our retirement and the travel that we want to do, is thinking about what are all the costs that we would have, and importantly, how those costs may differ based upon where we're living.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what we want to do with this video is actually kind of walk you through our thought process and share with you both a website that we use as well as a worksheet that we've put together. And then
by we, he means he put together.
Yes, but
that we both use.
So think of this as I'm the person with the shovel and Stephanie's the contractor standing on the side of the truck smoking cigarettes saying, yeah, no, a little bit more to the left. That's our relationship. I'm fine with it. Guys, you know what I'm talking about. But I digress. But doing this has allowed us to then kind of use this as a template going forward to say, hey, in a given year, where are the places we're thinking about spending the time, and how does that align with our overall budget? So, with no further ado, we'll kind of start with talking about the spreadsheet itself, some of the resources that we've used, and then we'll kind of answer some questions that would most likely be asked about this. And if you wait till the end, we'll actually show you how you can get access to this worksheet and make it your own.
Yep. Sounds good.
So
let's go.
The first sheet we're showing here, the first tab is where we have all the cost of living data. And for us, we pull all this data from a really great website called Expatistan. And it's very easy to use. You basically go in and you tell it the cost of living that you want to compare between two cities, in this case, Lisbon. And it's all source data from individuals who take the time to fill it in. But importantly, what we typically look at is just number right here, just to get a general number. Now, you can actually go into more detail and granular in terms of food and housing. But for us, this gives us just enough information to kind of have a general plan of action. There are other websites that provide similar information, but this is the one that it's on our tabs, and so we use it most frequently.
True that.
So the next thing we did is we built this spreadsheet, and we first started off just by putting in what we anticipated our costs would be on a yearly basis. Now, the numbers we have in here are not our numbers themselves. We'll kind of walk through and kind of share where we've differed a bit, but just to kind of give you an idea of how this works, we'll kind of walk through it. So with our home city being listed up here, and of course the cost of living being 100%.
Right, makes sense.
We first started with health and wellness. So health and wellness we broke down into two areas. One was pretty much expected, which is insurance and medication. Now, for us, we're very diligent about making sure that we have full coverage irregardless of where we are in the world. That's not something that we're going to skimp on.
Right.
There are others that will have just a major medical for the U.S. and then they'll have travel insurance outside the country. We're going to have both because that's not something really we want to kind of mess around with. And particularly because we are not at the age where we could leverage Medicare. It's important that we have a package that gives us that comfort.
And just to note, this is a monthly.
Yes, these are all monthly expenses, and you'll see at the end it tabulates out for the year. Now, that being said, if you're someone who plans on spending the majority of your time in a country that has great health care, say like Thailand, or even Vietnam to some extent. You may say, I'm going to have major medical for when I'm in my home city in the U.S., and I'm going to plan on taking advantage of the insurance or the health care in these other countries and pay out of pocket. But again, by having this in your budget, you're not constrained to, oh my gosh, I have to go to or I have to stay in Bangkok because I don't have the ability to have this taken care of back in the States. Or worse, be in a situation where you do need to get back to the States and you don't have the wherewithal to do so because you didn't factor that in terms of either travel insurance or having a plan in the States that allows for short-term visits overseas and then being able to bring you back to the States.
And I think a key point is to look at this as a set-aside. So if it isn't something that you use in a month, then don't just go wild and spend it elsewhere. Set it aside for that eventual need.
Yeah, that's a good point. Our intent is not to every month take this money out and put it into a checking account, but we do want to make sure it's something that we're consciously setting aside and have available each month, whether we use it or not. In our case, we would. The second is gym membership. As you can tell, gym membership is very important to me, mainly because I'm chasing after Stephanie. But as we've learned, gym membership is something that we find an enjoyment in doing together. In the States, we have that. We may continue to have that in other states or in other countries. But again, it's something that we have on here as part of our budget. You may decide to opt that out as a zero. One thing I do want to point out is on this row here, you can select a yes or no. And what that will do is that allows you to say, based upon the other countries that I'm in, do I want to modify that budget amount for that country? In the case of insurance and medication, because that's something, the next columns over are for household. And these are some significant columns. So the idea here, in fact, let me go ahead and just change the sizes so it's easier to see here. So the next one over is household. So for household, this covers basically everything that we would have for a home here in the States. You have the accommodations, whether it's rent or a mortgage, groceries, miscellaneous, housekeeping, and laundry. In that top row for the home city, you basically flesh out what you anticipate being the cost for living in your home city in the U.S., keeping in mind that these are based upon not having a current mortgage that you're also having to pay in the States. If you are, that is a secondary cost apart from this. This is purely saying, when I am outside the U.S., what can I expect to pay or what am I going to budget for accommodations? You can see here we defaulted to $1,500. Again, as you make this something that fluctuates, you can actually change this and say, based upon the country that I'm in, I want to have a different budget. Now, the challenge with that is that keeping in mind that you may then have to anticipate what the costs are going to be and make sure that that's in your budget.
Yeah.
But for us, we decided that we're going to stick with a flat budget across the board. Like Stephanie said, there may be countries that we're in that we're actually able to bank that money, but it's important for us to have that comfort that we're not going to be inhibited by having a budget that doesn't allocate for
wherever we want to go.
Wherever we want to go.
Right. We think that $1,500 is a pretty steady amount that we can probably come below in most places, which will allow us to go ahead and travel some other places where it maybe is a little more expensive.
Yeah, in fact, let me make a clarification here. So in our spreadsheet, we actually have this set at $2,000. It's a number that we felt more comfortable with. It's probably overkill, but that's what we wanted to do. For the insurance and medication, our number was $1,250. Again, that was a number that we felt for right now, that would be the cost we would be budgeting to pay. We may find as we get closer to retirement in these next few years that number has decreased or has increased. But this is how we like to plan things out.
Well, and the beauty of a sheet like this is that it's a living document because we can come in, make modifications, see what that type of difference in the number, how does that correspond to the countries that we're looking towards going to. So I really appreciate, and I think you will too if you wait till the end to see how you can link into this. I think you'll appreciate all the work that he put into it. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then next are your typical, groceries, whatever you feel is the right amount for you. We know that when we actually 50-50 between dining out and groceries. So we may decide that number is just whatever it is. We're going to split it between groceries and dining. But again, you kind of choose what you want there. Mm-hmm. We did make that a variable number. So depending upon the country that we're in, we're expecting that the budget, the amount that we'll need will be less. Miscellaneous is kind of a catch-all. Everything from do I put trash bags down as groceries or not?
Sure.
And so we have shampoo, things like that. Mm-hmm. Housekeeping. So we do have housekeeping here in the States. We anticipate that we may have housekeeping if we're in another country for a period of time. So we do also have that listed in here, as well as laundry or laundry service.
Yep. Love all of that.
So the next column is transportation, and we broke it into two categories. One is daily transportation. So that is whether it's renting a car for the month or using public transportation. Mm-hmm. And the second one is for travel. So think of that as for wherever you're at, what additional travel outside of just daily travel you want to budget for. In our case, we have the daily travel as being something that's most likely going to be Ubers, Grabs, public transportation. Mm-hmm. The transportation travel budget is money that's set aside for planes and trains that we're taking to travel across the region that we're in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So like we shared yesterday, for us, that travel number is also $2,000. That gives us a lot of flexibility based upon the ability to come back to the States. If there's something in the around Christmas time, we may decide that we want to come back for a week and share Christmas in country with our family. We had the budget to do so, even knowing that the prices will most likely be higher than perhaps in other seasons. It also gives us that flexibility of deciding whether we want to go economy or business based upon the length of the travel that we're doing. I put $500 in here as an example, but you then have to think for yourself, what is that reasonable travel budget? One of the nice things that you do find, especially when you get outside the U.S. and are going either within the European Union or within countries other than the U.S., is that it's considerably less to travel by airfare. So you may find that if you're planning on spending the majority of your time in those countries, that a lower amount for that type of transportation may be something that you can work into your budget.
Yep, I think so too. And this is great if you are a single traveler, or if you're a couple, you can double it. Yep. So very user-friendly.
And one thing I was thinking about the other day that we really hadn't talked about, and I don't think we really thought about a lot, was that, if you're someone that you're putting all this aside and paying and expecting to pay cash, you can put this all on your credit card and basically be putting away points and miles that you can then use to offset your budget for the subsequent year. So kind of keep that in mind as well. So in our case, if we've got, let's say that we do between our transportation and our groceries and everything, that we put on $24,000 across the year in terms of spend on the credit cards and paying that off. Well, depending upon the credit card you're putting that on, it can be anywhere between 24,000 and 120,000 miles or points. And that can go a considerable way towards your budget for the next year.
It can. And Chris made an excellent point there, which is, and pay it off. So sometimes we will watch other YouTubers and they'll talk about how easy it is to get the points. And
it's not easy.
And I think that we would be remiss not to remind you that the interest that you pay or fees that you pay, they negate the benefit. So please be wise in the way that you utilize credit cards.
Yeah, and it's a good habit to start now, because when you're in retirement, you're not working any longer. So the last thing you want is to put in your will, all my assets now go to Discover Card or to Chase Bank or whatever. So.
Right. No, don't do that.
And then the next set of columns are discretionary. Mm-hmm. The first few are somewhat explanatory. You've got gifts and charity, whether it's tithing, money you're setting aside for gifts for family, and then miscellaneous. These are things that are just kind of a catch-all. The third is dining, which we spoke about earlier. The fourth is entertainment, and then the fifth is spending. So each of us having a a set of money that we set aside for each other, kind of have money in our pocket if there's something that we want to purchase. We've found that having individual allowances allows us to feel that there's still a relative level of freedom of what we can go and buy for Stephanie, and she not have to know, oh my gosh, where did this come from? So
it is nice to have that independent ability to have a little, mad money.
Yes.
So I appreciate that.
And then you come into utilities. And this is something that, again, a lot of variability here, but kind of thinking about what you pay now and then using the cost of living calculator to determine what is the likely budget that you'll need for these other countries. So we have electricity, the phones, gas, internet, trash, water, and cable. And then over in the far right column, you see what the anticipated total budget would need to be both monthly and annually for each of these countries on the far left. So let's go back over to this far left, and I'll kind of walk you through these countries and kind of help you understand what we did here. So for us, we started this off fairly small. We started with just a few of the countries that we had been to on a few countries that we had been to.
Yep.
And over time, we'll watch a YouTube video or hear about a country and we'll add it to the list. It may not be a country that we've been to. It may not be a country that we really have, eyes on, going there. But it's kind of nice adding this to it, and it kind of becomes part of that what if list. Yes. So you can see, for example, in Da Nang, where we'll be later this year, that the cost of living compared to our home city is 31%. So what that means is for every $100 that we're spending in the U.S., most likely we'll probably spend just $31. And so this list here is what we use for populating the annual budget for the year. Mm-hmm. And so let me go over to that worksheet now and kind of show you how that's put together. So it's called the annual budget, and in here what I put in as an example of how someone may build out their itinerary for the year. So for each month, you can go in and select one city from the entire list, mm-hmm. and it will tell you what the budget would be for a month based upon the cost of living data. And you can see here, as a hypothetical, someone is spending basically the summer months of the year in Louisville, Kentucky, and then they're spending some time in Spain and Portugal before going to Italy, and then spending 3 months in Mexico for to kind of be out of the winter, and then splurging a bit and spending a couple months in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Right.
Doing all that, based upon that cost of living data, their annual budget needed would be $60,581. Now, it's important to remember this is after taxes, so you'd want to calculate in taxes on top of that. But that kind of gives you a sense of understanding what's the possibilities that I could have for travel, given the budget that I have, and whether or not I'll be at an age where I'm also able to take advantage of Social Security, what that budget may be.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Nope. That's the only thing that came to my mind was make sure that you are calculating for your taxes.
Yes.
But other than that, this is a great tool. And so put in the cities where you think you want to spend time, do it by the month, and put your own home data in. And Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle. So if I go in here and say instead of being in San Jose, I want to spend my time in our favorite Mexico City, Merida. We can go in here and see how that changes. So where is it here? Right there. Mm-hmm. All right. So now you can see the difference in the cost of living. Okay. So now we're back to the cost of living data, and so what are your thoughts?
I love the heat map, meaning where it's dark green, that's the least expensive. Light green, yellow, orange, and then red. The dark red is even above our normal home city. So I love how that's color-coded. Makes it really easy to look to see. So if we spend time in the dark green countries, then we're going to be under budget. If we spend time in the dark red countries, we're going to be in a place that's even more expensive than being
at home. We're not going to spend the entire year in Honolulu, Hawaii?
Probably not.
Okay, that's fine with me. I think the other point I want to make with this is that it was definitely just a labor of love. We'll make a link to this for everybody off of our website, b2g.travel. You can go to the website, you can open it up and then save it as a spreadsheet that you can work on yourself. If you have any questions about it, definitely just send us either an email from our website, or you can just send a comment in the notes before, and we'll try to help you as best we can. We'll probably continue to work on it as well, so we'll use our website and probably also Instagram to kind of let people know when we've made anything significant in terms of changes to the template itself. Most likely, we'll probably continue to add countries to it, but if you do have any questions about that, you can let us know. And
it'll be customizable.
Yes.
So once you take it, make it your own, and you can put any cities or countries and just use the data from the website that we use or any of the others that will give you an estimate of the difference in the cost of living from the towns that you're interested in to the town where you live now.
Yeah. And like we said at the outset, it gave us so much peace of mind when we first put this together and we saw the number and said, we can do this.
We can do this.
Yeah. And pretty much, I would say at least once a month, there'll be new countries we've either been to or we think about, like going to Vietnam last December and coming back and saying, that's a country that we want to add on our list of places we spend some time in, whether it's a month or 3 months, and kind of getting a sense of how that would impact our overall budget.
And it was green.
Yes,
all
it was
the
green
way.
all the way.
So green lights all over for us to go back to Vietnam and Thailand and some of the other Asian countries that we're going to go visit this year.
Yeah, and in fact, now that our friends Brian and Delise have up and moved to Thailand,
yeah,
we can actually put that in there and say, hey, if we spend 3 months with them and we can zero out accommodations because we're just going to sleep on their sofa, don't tell them. It'll be good. So, in fact, a shout out to them at Glad Nomads.
Yep.
So they're just brand new to the YouTube family, and we're excited to see their journey as well, as they've already started on their retirement.
Definitely. So go check them out. Is it the Glad Nomad?
It's just Glad Nomads.
Glad Nomad.
Yes.
All right. Very good.
So you can see it right down there. Because I mean, you can't see it down there, but I'm putting it down there.
Thank you.
Like that.
Ooh.
I know.
Did you see that?
All right. Well, anything else?
Nope. Not a thing.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching. If you do like it, just click on the like button so it warms our hearts. If you feel like subscribing, that's always cool because then we can kind of impress our kids and family. And we look forward to talking with you more and sharing more of our adventures.
Hope to see you on the road.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.